everyone, so welcome to my first story time. I know some of you guys don't like story times, but I do have some interesting stories that I do want to share. So the first one is about a seizure I had. Funny enough, I had it on my 15th birthday. If you don't know, I am part Mexican. My parents were born in Mexico, but you know, their background is mixed or whatever. And I actually did not want a quinceañera. They asked me and I said no. I'd rather have like a trip instead of a party because I'm not into like the big old dress and everything, and I didn't want my brother to be my date because they were gonna make my brother be my date instead of like a guy I actually like. So I was like, heck no, I'd rather have, you know, do travel. But did I get the trip? No. But anyway, yeah, so I had a seizure on my 15th birthday, and you know, background of how it got started. So basically, like the night before my birthday, my siblings and I watched The Exorcist on TV.
Amen.
And it was my first time ever watching The Exorcist. I had seen like parts of it, but I've never seen the whole thing. So on that night, we actually saw the entire thing. And I went to sleep. I was sleeping in my room with it was my sister and my room, our room. But I was sleeping in one bed, and my grandma was actually sleeping in another bed. My grandma who recently passed away. Yeah, I went to sleep, and the next thing I knew, I woke up in an ambulance. And I was like, oh my god. So before I talk about what happened in the ambulance, I'm just gonna say what happened in between then. This is from, you know, according to my grandmother and my parents, because they're the ones who saw me having the seizure, because I don't remember anything. Because yeah, you kind of are unconscious when you're having a seizure. So basically, I had the seizure when I was asleep, and my parents and grandmother told me like that they were trying to wake me up, and I was like convulsing on the bed. And my grandma told me that I looked like the Exorcist, basically. Which is funny because I had just seen that movie, but yeah, I was like, you know, bouncing up and down the bed like that, convulsing. You know, my parents, you know, they were yelling at me like, wake up, you know, to wake up, and I wouldn't wake up. I don't remember any of this, obviously, because I was unconscious, and yeah, I wouldn't wake up. So then that's when they called 911 apparently, and I woke up in the ambulance. And yeah, it's so funny because I guess other people, if they would have woken up in an ambulance, they might freak out like, what the heck, what am I doing here? But me, I actually thought it was cool. Like my first reaction when I woke up in the ambulance, I was like, wait, you know, kind of, you know, I'm like slowly waking up, and I'm just like realizing, okay, I'm in an ambulance. And I was like, cool, like this is pretty cool. Like I actually thought it was cool. I wasn't freaking out. I was like, cool, I'm in an ambulance, awesome. Because I'd never been in an ambulance before, like as a patient. I've like seen it in like field trips and stuff as a kid, but I've never been in there as a patient. I thought it was cool for some reason, because I've never really broken bones or had any major surgeries, or I haven't been in major accidents or anything. So since it was like a new experience for me, I guess I thought it was cool. And so I was like, oh, cool. And then the paramedic that was in there, he's like, what day is it? And I was like, it's my birthday, because it was the morning. And then he's like, she's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. So everyone was relieved. But, you know, it didn't end there. Like, they took me to the hospital because they had to run tests on me to see if I had, you know, epilepsy or whatever. So I got a CAT scan. There's so many scans, I don't remember. CAT scan, PT scan, all that stuff. So they ran the CAT scan one where like it goes around your head, like a CAT scan, I think PT scan. This was 16 years ago, so excuse me if I don't remember everything exactly. But yeah, there was like a CAT scan, PT scan, and then I got a spinal tap. That was painful. Okay, so for the spinal tap, I was laying on my back like this on the hospital bed, and they basically inject you in your spine, and they would draw a I think it's like a pink liquid, but yeah, they were like, don't move, and I was just like, heck yeah, I was just like so frozen, like don't freaking move, because imagine how painful that would be, a needle in your spine. So yeah, I went through a spinal tap. You know, I was just like laying in the hospital bed. My poor mom was super worried. She kind of worries a little bit too much. I guess she thought like maybe I was gonna die or something. But then they had to do some other tests. They recommended I get like an MRI. So I went to a town that was like an hour away, because you know my town is really small. So you know I had to go get the MRI at the, you know, in the bigger city. And I did not know that you weren't supposed to fall asleep in the MRI because nobody told me, okay? So they put me in the MRI, and if you don't know, the MRI is the one where you're laying down and you're basically like in a tube, and you're like a big tube, but it's like all this radiation. It's not good to go in an MRI a lot. I've been in my life, I think I've had like 4 or 5 MRIs. So hopefully I don't have to go through any more in my life, but that was my first one. So I went in the MRI, okay? They put headphones on me so I could listen to music. And then, you know, they made me lay down, made me super comfortable. You're not really supposed to move. You have to take off all your jewelry and everything. So they put me in the MRI, and I was really comfortable. I had to be in there for, I think, like 45 minutes, almost an hour. And I fell asleep because I got comfortable. You made me all comfortable listening to music. I'm like, yeah, and I fell asleep. Nobody told me I was supposed to fall asleep. I thought, like, you know, I could get the information I wanted with me asleep. I didn't know I had to be awake. And then they took me out of the MRI, and the lady was like, yeah, we're gonna have to do it again because you fell asleep. I was like, what? So I had to get back in there for another hour, and I felt really bad, but I'm like, dude, you should have freaking told me. Like I'm the kind of person, like, I kind of have to be moving around. Like, if I'm still and I'm not moving, I will probably fall asleep. That's why if I go see a movie, I usually have to take a nap. Like, if I go see in the movie theater, I usually have to take a nap before I go see the movie because I might fall asleep. Because I'm just, like, laying, comfortable, not moving. So I will fall asleep. So they did the MRI again. That's where they also diagnosed my scoliosis because the doctor was just, like, checking me. She saw my spine was, like, a little curved. She's like, okay, she has scoliosis too. So found out I had scoliosis there too. After the MRI at the same place, we did another test where this was the best one for me. Like, they put like these electrodes in my head, and they put me in a dark room and they made me lay down. They told me to go to sleep. I'm like, this is the kind of test I like. You know, now I can fall asleep. Awesome. So, because they had to like measure your brain waves while you're asleep. So I did that. I don't remember how long I fell asleep for, but yeah, I was asleep. And then I went to another hospital, I think it was in Mexico, to do another test where they were like flashing bright lights in my face. That was painful. So after all those tests, they ruled out epilepsy, like it's not epilepsy. And the doctor basically, like, pretty much the only possibility, because, you know, we were like, why did this happen? Why did I have a random seizure? And he said it was because of a high fever. Like, when I went to sleep, I didn't have a fever. I don't remember feeling sick or anything when I went to sleep. But while I was asleep, like, I guess when I got to the hospital, I had a fever of like 103, 105 or something around there. That was really high. And he said that can cause a seizure if you get a fever. Just like if your temperature goes up really fast, that can cause a seizure. Especially, I think that happens a lot in younger kids. They decided that was a cause. It was just like a really high fever. But even though they concluded that I most likely do not have epilepsy, they still want to take some precautions. So for a year after the seizure, I had to take these pills just to prevent any seizures. And I didn't have any seizures after that. I haven't had a seizure since, thank goodness. I kind of thought it might be like a 15-year thing. So on my 30th birthday, I was like preparing myself. I'm like, okay, I might have a seizure. This might be like every 15 years or something on my, you know, every 15th birthday or something like that, because I had it on my birthday. And it's funny because when I was in the hospital too, I was so thankful. Like, I was in the hospital, I'm like, yes, I'm in the hospital on my birthday. I don't have to go to freaking church, because I think they were going to take me to church for my birthday, to mass. And I was like, yes, I don't have to go to church. I don't have to do nothing. Now, as an adult, I do like doing stuff for my birthday. I've pretty much always liked doing stuff for my birthday, but I think on the 15th one, I didn't like what my parents wanted me to do for my birthday, so that's why I was like, yes, I can be in the hospital, just lay here and rest. So it was awesome. Yeah, I don't know, some people might they're like, well, you think staying in the hospital is awesome, but for me it was, because I've always been such like a workaholic. I always like doing stuff. So for me, like, just being there in the hospital, just laying there, not doing anything, it was like forcing myself to just take a break and relax. So that's why I kind of like was thankful. I'm like, okay, no one right now can force me to do anything, you know, because people are always like having demands on me, especially because I'm the oldest. I'm like responsible. People always want me to do stuff. So it's like, yes, now I have an excuse. I can't do anything, okay? I'm a patient in a hospital. You need to leave me alone. You need to let me relax. So So I was kind of thankful about that. So even though I only had one seizure on my 15th birthday, I have had like side effects from it, or just, I don't know if they're side effects or just effects from the seizure, things that I noticed that were different. Okay, so after the seizure, I missed a whole week of school because pretty much for a whole week after the seizure, I had a fever every day. It would go away by the end of the day or something, but basically like I had a fever every freaking day and I just felt sick. Like I couldn't really eat much. The only thing I ate for like the whole week I think was rice and water. That's like pretty much the only thing I could eat. So it definitely affected me there. And then I got kind of bummed because I was gone from school for a freaking week. Did people come visit me? No. And then there was this kid that I had a few classes with. And when I finally went back to school, he was like, I told him, you know, I mentioned that I was gone for a week, and he's like, oh, really? I didn't notice. I was like, cool, thanks. You could have just kept that to yourself. You didn't really have to tell me that you didn't notice that I was gone for a whole freaking week, so thank you. The other thing that changed was my, like, tastes for things. Like before the seizure, I was really into chocolate. Like I wouldn't call myself a chocoholic, but I love chocolate. You know, my favorite ice cream flavor was chocolate. I just like chocolate, just candy and everything. And I didn't really like peanut butter. I wasn't like a huge fan of it. But after the seizure, I didn't really like chocolate anymore. I was way more into peanut butter. And now I love peanut butter, and chocolate's like, it's okay. It's definitely not my favorite ice cream flavor anymore. It used to be. Now I love all the green ones. I love mint, green tea, pistachio. Those are my favorite flavors, and sorbets, raspberry. So it changed my taste in that way too, which I thought was really weird. And then also changed my appetite. Before the seizure, I would eat a lot more. That was never huge, but I just could eat more. Like if there was tacos, I maybe would eat 3 or 4 tacos of the small ones, not the big ones. Pizzas, 3, 4 slices, you know. But you know, I was active as a kid, so I wasn't, you know, huge or anything. But then after the seizure, I could only maybe do 1 or 2 slices of pizza, 1 or 2 tacos, and that was good. My family would notice because they knew I used to eat more. And they're like, you don't want another one? I'm just like, no, I'm full, you know, I'm good. So I noticed that change, and that's still, all those changes from, you know, 16 years ago, they're still active. You know, they're still there today. Like it's still, you know, I'm not that into chocolate. I still like peanut butter more. I still don't have like that big of an appetite where I eat like as much as I used to. And then another effect that it had on me is that I still feel today, 16 years later. I'm still feeling this effect. It's like a nerve thing in the back of my head, like in random times. I think I'm trying to figure out like when it would happen, like if I could see a pattern. But I get this random shock in the, like, kind of like where the skull, the back of the skull meets your neck. Like I get a random shock right here, and it's really painful when it happens. Luckily, I've never had it on camera, but it's just like, it feels like, I don't even know how to describe it. It feels like just someone is squeezing your nerve, and then you're just like, you can't move, and that's how I feel. Like I go like this when I have the pain. It's like a burning sensation. It feels like, yeah, like someone's squeezing my nerve. It burns, and I'm just like, and I can't move, and I'm like paralyzed for a little bit. I'm just like, you know, this side is like, I just can't move it, and I still have it. Those pains started after the seizure 16 years later, and I'm still having those pains. And I've been wanting to go to a neurologist to see if there's like anything, if he can notice anything there, you know, because it's always in that same spot. And it kind of scares me because I'm scared, like, you know, it's gonna get worse and I'll have like an aneurysm or something. But I haven't been to a neurologist yet, and I feel like I should. You know, it's just expensive, you know, but I feel like it's definitely something I need to see because it's been going on for 16 years. And I was trying to figure out, like, you know, if there's a certain cause, you know, just like I said, trying to find a pattern. And the best thing I've been able to come up with is, I think it happens, it's like maybe caused or triggered by like me getting really excited about something. Like if I get like super like screaming, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I think that might be what's causing the shock, because I've kind of just been thinking about like when I've had it, and a lot of times it's when I'm really, really excited about something. Like I'll just be like, oh, yeah, I'm just like really excited about something, just super like emotional or whatever, and then I'll have the shock. So that's my guess. That might be completely wrong, but it's just hard to figure out, like, you know, why that's happening. And then I had a really, really bad pain. That's probably the worst pain I've ever felt. And this happened, I think 2 years ago. It was like a New Year's Eve. I think New Year's Eve, like 2016, 2015. So I was driving to my friend's New Year's Eve party, and I don't remember if I was excited or whatever. Maybe I was. But all of a sudden, like, I felt the worst, most painful thing I've ever felt in my life. Okay, and it was really scary too. So I was driving. It was in a residential area, so luckily I was driving slow. But basically, this whole side of my head right here, I can't even it's really hard to describe the pain. But it felt like this side of my brain was just on fire, or like lightning. It felt like lightning struck and then everything was on fire. Just this side of my brain. And then it felt like my brain was being squeezed. I don't know. That might sound really weird, but it's so freaking painful. It was so painful. And like the shots right here, they're really quick, but they're painful. But this one lasted a little bit longer, and I was like, oh my god. I was like driving, I was just like, and it was so painful. Like, I started crying like that. That's how painful it was. I was just like, I felt like, seriously, it felt like my brain was being squished, lit on fire, and struck by lightning at the exact same time. It was so, like, I'm sorry I keep saying it was painful, but it was like the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And it was scary because it's in my brain. You know, any pain that happens in your brain is scary, you know? Like, that's your freaking brain. If something goes wrong with your brain, you know, that's scary. So I just like stopped. I started crying because it was just like, after like the initial like pain, it was still like lasting. It was like I had like a kind of like a headache for a while, and I just started crying and crying because I never felt pain that bad before. And I was scared, like, what the heck, am I having an aneurysm, you know what? And luckily I haven't had that pain since. But after I had that pain, I was like, okay, maybe I need to go see a neurologist, because that one I've only had once, but it was the most painful thing ever. These I get, you know, randomly, but I've been having them since the seizure for 16 years. So yeah, it was just crazy to me that one seizure can have that much of an effect on me, and, you know, change my appetite, things I liked, and you know, now I'm having all these pains. So it's just crazy. It was just like one seizure, and it just makes me think, like, you know, how it could really change things in your brain. Because, you know, I don't know if you've heard, but sometimes, like, if people get in an accident, they get a concussion or something, you know, it'll change like their personality or something. And I don't think it's changed my personality. Nobody told me my personality changed, but, you know, it did change like my taste and things like that. So it's just interesting to me, you know, how like your brain, you know, it's kind of connected to, like, you know, your appetite and things that you like and stuff like that. So I just found that very interesting, and just wanted to share that, because even though it's something that happened once 15 years ago, it's still something that, you know, I think about, because it's still having an effect on me.
I also completely forgot to talk about another effect that I still feel from the seizure, and that's just like I get pain and headache from flashing white lights. So if I go to a nightclub or whatever, colored lights are fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if the lights are white, like, right away my head just, I start getting a headache. And even if I cover like my eyes or try to like look away, if it's kind of, if the light's reflecting onto something else and I can still kind of like see it out of like my, you know, peripheral vision, like I can, like, it'll still give me a headache. So yeah, so like sometimes if I'm dancing in a nightclub or something and the white lights start flashing, I'll like look down and cover my eyes, and people think I'm being weird, but it's just, I have to like protect my eyes because I get a headache. And I was working, doing background acting on a show, and they didn't tell me it was a nightclub scene, but they didn't tell me they were going to have flashing white lights the entire time. So when I got to the set, you know, they had the lights flashing, and right away I had to like look away because my head started hurting as soon as I like saw the lights. I was like, oh shoot. And I just like turned my head, cover my eyes, and I was just like walking with my head down, covering my eyes, and a production assistant saw me. She's like, "What's wrong?" And I told her like, "Yeah, I like these give me headache. The lights give me a headache, and I can't really look or be around them, And she's basically they sent me home, from the set, and I feel really bad, but they didn't warn us about the lights, or else I would not have taken that job. But I still got paid, so that was good. And at least the production assistant was really nice and helpful, and she didn't make me feel bad about going home, because I was just like, I don't like, leaving work. I'm a worker, and she's like, no, it's fine. It's a health thing, and the lights are going to be on the entire time. So if you're going to be in pain, then it's not going to help. So yeah, but that's another thing that happened to me after the seizure, and it's something that's still affecting me today.
And yeah, I just want to share it. Let me know if any of you guys have had a seizure, or you know somebody who's had a seizure. If you have epilepsy or know somebody who has had it. If you want to know how to deal with the seizure, in case you see it happening, I did make a video about it years ago, so I'll post a link below. And I'm sorry if I'm not that great in the video. This was years ago, so I'm probably like a lot more weird and awkward in the video. But it has tips on how to deal with someone who's having a seizure. But that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this story time. It wasn't just like a story time of like, how it happened, but I also wanted to talk about the effects that it had on me, because I just thought that was really interesting, and it's effects that I'm still feeling 16 years after that one seizure. I can't talk anymore, but my throat is drying up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched the whole video, first of all, I love you. Thank you. If you did watch the whole thing, in your comment, write the word chapstick. That way I know you watched the whole thing. And I will be making more story times. The next one is going to be about my first boyfriend. I know the stalkers are going to be so excited about that one. And no, I'm not going to make a video about each of my boyfriends that I've had, but I'm going to talk about my first one because the story of how we got together I think is like really cute. So that's why. It's not because I want to talk about all my boyfriends, and I'm not going to say his real name or whatever. I'll have more in the future. If you want to support my channel, I'd really appreciate it, because YouTube is demonetizing so many random videos. I have a Patreon, the link below. To my patrons, thank you so much. If you want to become a patron, you can do so by going to the link in the description below, or I'll post the link somewhere around here. But I do want to thank my awesome patrons, Daryl Phillips, Gardo Williams, Neil Dawkins, Byron Herarte, Emilio Cardenas Cortez, Valentina Herrera, Greg Lauderman, Chris C, and Luis Gomez. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys, and I hope you guys look forward to my next Storytime video, and thank you for watching. Bye!